actually go? How do I say your full name? I just want to make sure it's correct.
Gianni Neiviller.
Neiviller. Perfect. Looks like we are live. Just give me a moment. Hey everyone, if you are watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, let us know. We're just getting started with today's podcast in a bit. So, if you're seeing this on Facebook on my personal profile, which I'm streaming from, or if it is on our YouTube channel, make sure that you let us know, add a comment, add a like, make sure you share this post, this live stream as well, because we've got some really amazing, interesting stuff lined up for all of you. So, we're going to get started in a few seconds. But again, it's going to be an interactive session as well. So I'd love to see all of you in the comment section, or if you're watching this as a replay, make sure that you're engaging with us as well. And with that, let's begin. What's up, Action Tribe? AJ here, host and founder of My Seven Chakras, my7chakras.com, the show where we help you calm your mind, relax your nervous system, and experience deep states of bliss. In today's episode, I hope to explore some of my favorite topics that I absolutely love chatting about, which are breathwork, cold exposure, music, sound healing, sound bathing, maybe a little bit about the journey of entrepreneurship overall, but the hero's journey, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. And we find ourselves from time to time in certain junctures and roles that we play in life. And what I'm really fascinated about is awakening our own hero within. And that's a little bit about what we'll touch on today. But we're going to get started in a minute. So if you like the work that we do, if you are excited about this episode, and if you'd like to support us, then make sure that you hit the subscribe button right now, because it does something to the algorithm and helps more people come across this podcast. So make sure that you hit subscribe, make sure you hit follow as well, and make sure that you tell at least one of your friends about this episode, because I can't wait to get started. With that being said, let's bring on our special guest for today, Gianni Neiviller. Gianni is a corporate trainer, TEDx speaker.
Oh, I
I
am.
got the wrong bio. A self-professed biohacker, Gianni embarked on a new journey of self-discovery. He felt that he wasn't living life to the fullest after endless hours of devouring podcasts and reading books on the many biohacking modalities. Gianni started experimenting on himself, continually tweaking and refining. Through trial and error, he discovered sleep optimization, nutrition, and breath work were vital in achieving physical, mental, and spiritual growth. So Gianni began to share his knowledge with friends and family, and the results were so inspiring, it led him to take a course in breath work and cold therapy. And that's pretty much, in addition to so many other things that he does, is breathwork and cold therapy, which I'm excited to talk about. Hey, Gianni, nice to have you on our show.
Hey, how are you?
I am doing
I'm.
good. I'm doing good.
I just want to say, that faux pas you made there was, hey, it could come true. I'm working on getting some corporate clients,
Yeah.
and TEDx. Let's go. Bring it on. I'm ready.
You know what? I strongly believe that sometimes the universe communicates through human beings, because there's no way for the universe to just come across as a bird, right? If a bird speaks to you tomorrow, you'll be surprised. You'll think you're sleeping, or maybe you're high on something. But if a human tells it, a lot of times I didn't plan this, right? So it came through me. But maybe, just maybe, a TED talk is next for you.
For that, my friend, I'll take it.
Awesome, awesome. And Action Tribe, many of you all know that one of my intentions for this year and going beyond is to really have a deeper connection with my guests, right? I don't treat my guests just as guests, but as people that I'd like to learn from, connect with, be friends with, have coffee with, have dinners with, right? So even though these sessions are typically remote, I'm doing a lot of in-person sessions as well, but I like to have some kind of connection with my guest before we record these podcasts, and I hope it translates onto the show as well. So to let you know, I had a breathwork session with Gianni just yesterday, because a lot of times I do breath work for other people, but it's so rewarding and fulfilling and valuable to have somebody else, right, hold space for you and take you through the journey of breathing. And I absolutely enjoyed that experience, Gianni. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thank you for coming yesterday. It was a special occasion. It was a Father's Day breathwork session. I felt a connection with you right away, even before yesterday when we spoke, when we were, when we were communicating Instagram DMs. I felt connected to you, and I felt connected to you before you even knew I was connected to you, because you interviewed my great teacher, Alex Tsuk,
Yeah.
and just the connection was, was a I connected because I connect with him so much,
Yeah.
and so here we are today.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And I hope he's watching this. I have connected with him on Facebook. But yeah, it's fascinating how this works when people I feel are on similar wavelengths, similar visions. It's just beyond words, right? And sometimes you connect with somebody and sometimes you don't. But a lot of times, if there's a vibration there, then there's a connection. I still am at lost with how this works, but it does work, right?
Oh man, does it really? Does it ever? Rather, it's energy, right? Energy,
Yeah.
as you said, can be felt from across the world through a screen. In person.
Hmm.
Energy is energy, and
Yeah.
it has no boundaries, has no borders. When
Mhm.
your heart is open, the universe brings it all together, brings specific people together, brings uh, just love. It just brings the love, even though it's sometimes you don't even have to be in the same, say, breath work or the same
Yeah.
genre of work. It's
Yeah.
energy. We're
That's
all
true.
connected anyway.
Yeah,
I
that's
like to
that's that's
say,
very true. Hmm.
I like to say that uh, if we could see,
Hmm.
we humans, that is, if we could see a string that's connected to each one of us,
Hmm.
we would treat much better.
Hmm.
See the string that's connected to the stranger who's passing me on the street, and then the string that connects me to him connects him to the other person down the street, and just this big web of human beings. We're all connected, and if we could
Right.
all just that string, the world would be a much better place.
Oh, that's very very true and very profoundly put as well. Um, we are all connected. It might not be a literal string, but it's an invisible string, just like the electricity, right? Nobody can see electricity, but we can feel the shock when we accidentally maybe put our hands in the wrong place, and we can feel the effects of electricity by knowing that this light is working, this computer is working, and all the different appliances in the house are working. As a sense of trust that we have, we just know it works. And a lot of times maybe children don't even know about electricity, but the effects are there. And just like you put, right, there's this fabric, there's this string or strings that connect human beings across the world. And some call it love, some call it string theory. I don't even know if that makes sense, right? But, but there is a connection. So Gianni, why don't you tell us where were you born and brought up? Because I find that really fascinating to uncover or discover something about my guests, especially how it all started for them.
Sure, I'd love to share my story with you. Wood, California, to immigrant parents, immigrant father from Napoli,
Mhm.
My father came first himself to, I guess, test the waters, and he liked them and went back and gathered my mother, my and my sister. And 6 years later, um, smack dab in the middle of Hollywood, where many people think, "Who's from Hollywood? Heard of it? Like, you grew up in Hollywood?" People always laugh at that, but yeah, I grew up in Hollywood, and I had a great childhood. Got to tell you.
Right. That is amazing. That's amazing. So you're from Italy, Napoli. Is the
Well, my
Neapolitan
parents.
pizza from there originally? I mean, your parents, yeah.
Yes, yes. The Margherita pizza is from Naples, named
Yeah.
after the Queen Margherita.
Interesting. I mean, growing up, I always loved pizzas myself. In fact, I loved pizzas so much that there was this one time, or maybe two occasions, where my parents got me a pizza for a birthday cake, and we put candles on them. you know, that I guess that fantasy died out over the years. And Hollywood is very interesting. It's been a while since I've been to California myself, but I still remember the first time I went there. So beautiful. I went to Santa Monica, went to the beach. It was so fascinating for me. And then I remember we took a train that took us all the way to Hollywood, because then we were going um, to the
Universal Studios.
Universal Studios. Yeah, 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 yeah.
That was a
I
good
still
guess.
remember that. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm sure you, like, a lot of people come for the Universal Studios, right? For that part, but then a lot of people come to pursue their careers and to become the next, Matthew McConaughey or some rock star. Yeah, yeah,
And I've seen him go. Yes,
yeah.
that
So, did you at one point?
transient,
It's very transient. Did you at one point, like, what did young Gianni want to become when he grew old? What was your?
a rock star.
You want to be a rock star? Okay.
Yeah, I got close. I got like, but no
Yeah.
cigar. Yeah,
Uh,
I. Oh God, I don't know. Maybe 9 or 10. I was just fascinated with music. I was a huge Beatles fan,
all right.
and I went to my first local concert when I was 13 or 14,
Uh-huh.
and I saw those guys on stage, and I said, "I can do that. I could do that."
Mm.
And that's when the light went off, and before you knew it, I was in a little teenage rock band, and
Mm.
went on for a good time.
That is really amazing. I also, if I may say, was in a rock band. Not for many years, but yeah, I was lead singer, and also I used to play the guitar in my college. So we played for 2 years during the musical festivals. And one thing I can tell you is we've had a really hard time to find a drummer. I
Oh
had a hard
God,
time to find a drummer, but then when we did find it, it's so fascinating to be in a band, right? Because, like you point out, it's like a string. There's something that connects every member of the band, and if there's a disconnection, the whole audience can see it, because there's some kind of disturbance in the resonance. But when it is resonant, oh my god, you can just feel it, right? The electricity of you performing in front of so many people. And a lot of times, especially at night, you can't even see the audience, it's black, but then you have the strong lights pointing at you, and you can feel this exhilaration, right? You feel high. Would you say that?
that's one of my first, I would say, spiritual experiences was, and it wasn't even necessarily in the rehearsal studio
Yeah.
when the ensemble of 3 or 4 musicians come together and
Yeah.
you start playing that song and everything match it like the planets align.
Mhm.
I'm getting goosebumps just
Yeah.
telling it to you.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. And
Yeah.
then you do that on stage, and then you have
Oh,
the audience participation. It's just it's a whole other world. I want to say
it is
something though
so.
about
Yeah.
drummers real fast.
Yeah.
You said something about drummers, and
Yeah,
I've had this saying that I've been saying for years. You can't judge a book by its cover,
yeah,
but you could judge a band by its drummer.
yeah. That's true.
Because if the drummer's off,
Yeah,
everybody else is off. Bass
yeah,
player could be off, and the audience won't notice. The
yeah.
singer, yeah, people will notice, but
Mhm.
it's you salvage it. Guitar player could be off, people won't notice. Drummer's off, good night, it's over.
Mm. That's so true. One person can make such a difference, and especially if the band, like in our case, our band was not very well known, and we were sort of the underdogs. And I still remember going on stage and feeling so nervous, and feeling as if the audience is against you in many ways, because the other band had their favorites, right? Because they used to play the same numbers, and we were here playing. We were not playing heavy metal. We were playing like alt rock, and we were playing these other covers. But we did have this sense of confidence. We just had this sense of connection. Me with the bassist, and the bassist with the other guitarist and the drummer. And within minutes, we had the crowd cheering for us. It's fascinating
Yeah,
how just vibrations beyond language can do so much for us.
and that those nerves go away pretty quickly
Yeah,
once the first note kicks in. It's over. You're in it. Question:
yeah.
what did this happen in Canada? Were you in Canada doing?
No, this was in India. This was
Okay,
actually more than 10 years back. And
okay,
the surprising story of this is we did the show, it was recorded. I didn't even have the video because my bassist kept telling me that he had it, but he lived away from, he worked away from his home. And like after 10 years, just a couple of months back, he reaches out to me and says, AJ, I got the video. And I'm like, because I had forgotten about it. I assumed that I would never get access to that video. And here he is, and he sends it to me. And I had like a spiritual experience, just seeing myself 10 years back and noting that what, I wasn't that bad. Yeah,
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 I know the
exactly.
feeling.
Yeah. And so, what did you end up pursuing early on in your as a young adult? What were you doing at that time?
Well, so I was born into the restaurant business, the Italian restaurant business,
Hmm.
which was my income, my way of making a living.
Hmm.
Uh, my dreams aside, I was always in like local bands playing, and then early '90s, and we got into a major label, so I was able to leave the restaurant business and go on tour and make records and all that stuff. When that was over, and don't get me wrong, it was a resentment because I didn't know I didn't have gratitude for what my family did for me, but I had a job, right?
Hmm.
When the music was done, I still had a job to come to, whereas my bandmates were struggling, and they continued on in music, and some of them have gone on to become rock stars. And for me at the time, I resented. I didn't realize what I had, how good I had it, and what my mother and father provided for me.
Hmm.
It took me years later to understand that.
Hmm.
Um, so I went back to the restaurant business. Then I got back into the music business and started playing singer songwriter. We did some touring in Europe, and that was wonderful. But at that point, I already had young children and a mortgage and more responsibilities. So
Right.
I took it as I appreciated it more. I didn't take the music for granted as much, but I was still very unhappy with the restaurant business. Again, because I was not grateful. So to answer your question, music, restaurant, back to music, and then the story to where I am now. You could ask me some more. You want to segue to that in a different way, we can.
Right.
But it's up to you, brother.
Yeah. So before going there out, I'm just curious, what did you not like about the restaurant business?
To start with what I did like, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
I liked the connection. I liked the
Yeah.
connection. Liked making people happy when they were eating our food because it was my mother's recipes, and it was fulfilling. I definitely enjoyed the connection and the uh, aspect of it. I did not like was the details. I didn't like um, I didn't like some of the complaining. Hungry people are they could
Oh,
be
okay,
they're
right.
hangry, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have an older brother who I love dearly. Um, Micromanaging, and he treated me a lot and just always told me what to do and
Mhm.
never really took my ideas serious. Although he did, I just didn't see it at the time. I was ego, it was a lot of stuff in the way. Um,
Mhm.
if you would ask me this question 4 years ago, it would be different than it is now.
Right, right, right. Yeah, it totally makes sense that you did not like the micromanaging and the detail, right? That's why they say there's the devil is in the detail,
The details.
right?
You heard me say that.
It makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so and so then also at a certain point, you were touring, you were in the band, but deep down you felt that it was no longer for you. Is that correct? That you wanted
At
something
the
else, or you wanted to switch?
I've always wanted something else. It's this really interesting question that you pose here. Music is a passion. It's a love. It's in my, but it's not a
Right.
calling.
Hmm.
And I knew from a very young age that I needed to help.
Hmm.
I needed to help others. I never really knew in what capacity. And one could say playing music is helping, right? It's soothing, even though I played punk rock, but that soothed a lot of people.
Oh, you played punk
Um,
rock? Interesting. Okay.
I played funk, metal. I've played it all.
Right.
But my career in with the one particular band was considered like alt punk. But so one could say music is soothing and helping, and indeed it is. But fulfilling. And then one could also say the restaurant business is helping because you're feeding people, and that as well was not fulfilling. It wasn't fulfilling my heart,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. There's a difference between being able to really fulfill somebody and something that makes you happy individually, right? So in my case also, music has followed my life throughout my life, but yet deep down I felt that the thing that I do that really fulfills me will involve music, but it won't be particularly being in a band. Because I, like I said, I was in a band for a while. I loved music all my life. I also worked in one of the top companies for sound. I used to work at Bose Corporation. So I've actually
Really?
been to the yeah, I've actually been to the headquarters at Bose Corporation and seen all those large speakers that they do. They test those speakers and run it all day long, and it's so loud in there that you gotta wear these noise cancellation huge headphones, not the ones available for public, but the real rugged ones. And your suit or maybe your trousers, they vibrate with all the vibration on that sound. It's an amazing testing room there, but I knew
60
sound is
cycle
going to
hum.
place. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I knew that sound and music is going to play some kind of role, but to your point, it was not that fulfilling at that point. So how did you get into the cold? Like, how did you get into the practice of like cold showers or cold plunges? How did that begin for you? Where were you and what were you doing?
Uh, it was a road.
Yeah.
It's hard to pinpoint the moment it happened. I say probably probably seeing that Vice episode of in Poland, I think it was, with those guys. Was it Vice or was it a different one? I don't know.
Hmm.
That was really fascinating. But I was already on a journey, right? I was already uh, really hacking.
Right.
I was just devouring podcasts and books, uh, just you know, bettering your body and your lifestyle. At that point, I lost pounds, close nearly pounds, and I knew more to. I knew
Mm,
that you know, as we get older, I see everyone complain and complain about how this aches and this hurts and I'm tired and I can't sleep. And I wasn't accepting that. I wasn't.
right.
And I saw these players who happen to have podcasts, and I just started implementing little things here and there. I started stacking one on top of the other. And the cold was one of them. It started it started it didn't even start with cold showers. It started with throwing some ice cubes in my bathtub, believe it or not. And I didn't even know what breath work was yet. For me, it started with ice
Right.
first, then the breath. Yeah.
So, which podcast were you following at that time?
Oh, I was following Luke's story, the lifestylist.
Oh, okay.
I was following Rich Roll,
Ritual. I thought you might say that. Okay.
Dave Asprey, Bulletproof
Hmm.
Radio. I think he's changed the name. Um, Ben Green,
Yeah.
uh,
And Greenfield.
Stevens, the Model
Hmm.
Health Show. That kicked me off down the sleep hacking rabbit hole,
Mm,
and I
yeah.
learned a lot through Sean Stevenson. I love that guy.
Yeah.
Um, Lacey Peterson, I
Mm.
think is that her last name? Lacey Peterson, Lacey. And I learned I learned of Luke's story through Lacey. I want to
Oh, okay.
shout out to my friend Ninon. She's gonna hate me. She she's responsible for showing me this other world
Hmm.
onto Lacey, and I was off races after that. And there's more. There's more biohackers, and it's not just bio. It's also like Charles Eisenstein, Aubrey Marcus. Um,
Mm.
uh, oh God, there's more. They're escaping me right now, but it's not just in the
Hmm.
physical. It's also in the
Yeah.
spiritual and
Yeah.
in the mental. Right? Oh, Andrew Huberman.
Okay. Right. Right. Right.
Come on,
Yeah.
he's my hero.
That is amazing. And all these podcasts that you percent of them, I'm also a fan of them. And it's fascinating how a person can go from having all these challenges and maybe bad habits and difficulties and then transform themselves, right? And then within a few years, and sometimes it takes more than a few years, it takes 5 years, maybe 10 years, we don't realize it, but then we think that they're overnight successes, but we don't see that they've been struggling and taking action every day, not just to build their podcast, but also to build themselves, so to speak.
Mm,
And it's fascinating.
absolutely.
You mentioned that, right, you can grow old, but you don't have to age. There are so many things that you can do these days to feel better, to feel more vital, to feel more energetic, to feel just more flexible, also, right, on a physical sense. Love the idea of layering, because I got a couple of these different things that I do, and I've made a profound impact on my life. One is cold showers, especially if you have an opportunity to cold dip. I do that. I love my green juices these days. I've got a juicer. Love the celery juice as well. Oil bath. I love doing oil bath, and of course the breath work and all these things. And like you put, when you layer them on, it's like you have additional rocket fuel to really supercharge your life. So that's
Absolutely.
interesting.
I like what you said. Grow old, but we're going to grow old, but we don't age. Or I love that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
growing old is not a choice, right? Age wise, you grow old, but then you don't have to have the same effects of aging if you take
right.
these steps and if you adopt these routines and things like that.
I could say this. I'm 55
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm 35.
Hmm.
And when I was 35, 55.
Hmm.
No joke. I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
That's how much my life has changed.
Yeah.
And like the stacking and how I avoid all seed oils. I'm very serious about that. Salt I use. I'm serious about the salt I use. Redmond real salt. Shout
Got it.
out. If you've never used it, look it up. Um, I'm not a vegetarian. I'd like to point that out. I have a vegetarian vegans, but I truly believe that grass-fed, sustainably grown, ethically raised cow is important.
Hmm.
I think it's actually the environment. Um, I don't believe this whole thing about environment. I don't get me. Hold on.
Hmm.
Factory farming is bad for the environment, no doubt.
Right.
But if they were to allow the cows to graze in their natural,
Hmm.
that helps the environment, and that's controversial.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100.
I
Whatever I
also
see on
do.
television. Sorry, please go ahead. I said
I was
whatever I
just.
see on television, mainstream, I take it with a grain of salt. Please go
I was
ahead.
just going to say I also do raw dairy. Raw kefir is
Okay.
it's considerably. I'm missing this much of my colon. You can't see it on the camera.
Hmm.
Part of my colon has been moved and
Okay.
reconnected. I don't have a gallbladder, and before I changed my diet and started introducing raw dairy,
Hmm.
I was always having trouble, stomach problems. I don't have stomach problems anymore because of the bacteria, right?
Yeah.
The raw dairy bacteria, they have a good and bad bacteria, symbiotic relationship. You need both.
Hmm.
It's important.
Yeah. It's yeah. It just speaks to the idea that just because you've heard something or some group of people saying something that it's good for you, it's not necessarily good for you, right? You need to do your own research, you need to read the studies, you need to maybe do a little experimentation for yourself to find out if it works for you or not. Like, for example, growing up, everyone said, breakfast, you got to have a heavy breakfast, that's the best for you, right? But then later on, I do intermittent fasting and I feel so much better. Growing up,
Same
even
here.
saying milk is good for you. You gotta have a large glass of milk, right? My parents, grandparents, everyone would say that. I didn't like milk as a child. I don't think a lot of children like milk per se, right? And I don't drink milk. I feel better, right? So these are these things that, for one reason or the other, have become popular. Maybe because of lobbyists. These large lobbying groups that are pushing a current narrative, and sometimes, every once and oft, you need to question these narratives and say, does it make sense for me? If it does, great. And if it doesn't, well, then do something else, right? I want to ask you, what does cold do for you? Like,
Ooh.
everyone who's a fanatic of cold has their own very, I found, very subjective, very personal connection to the cold. Or it's almost like a physical relationship, like a brother or a sister, right? But what does the cold do for you? Why do you keep
Oh,
going back to the cold?
so many things. First of all, it centers me.
Hmm.
It you can't
Yeah.
be in or when you're in, so it
Hmm.
shocks the nervous system into the present. I'm sorry, I don't know if you could hear my wife playing the drum right now. She's doing a sound bath. Okay. Um, if I'm having, if I'm struggling, if I'm having a bad day, or if something adverse happens, I go straight out to my ice bath, fill it up, jump in, and it goes away. You know, it doesn't work, but say 9 out of 10 times it does. It gives me energy. I could do twice as many push-ups, or I could plank for a minute and a half longer. An ice bath. It I don't want to say I was an angry person, but I had a short fuse, especially like traffic. I don't have I don't react when, be it in traffic or with a family member. I used to like as if I had guns, was ready to shoot. The cold therapy, the plunges have taught my nervous system to pause, take a step back, and respond accordingly. Hear sounds.
No, that's fine.
I was hoping you could.
Oh no, I can hear it a little bit, but it's not disruptive to the conversation or to the microphone. That's what I meant.
It's a beautiful sound. I love the crystal bowls. My
It's
wife
great. Yeah,
plays she
yeah,
plays the hell out of them.
yeah. I love sound balls myself.
Uh, and one more thing I'd like to add. I've suffered from lower back pain and neck pain intermittently most of my adult life. It's almost all but gone. And if I begin to feel just a twinge or a tinge of it, I'll jump in the ice. It's gone. Say, I stack so much. Sometimes it's hard for me to know what exactly is doing the trick. I haven't worn shoes. I mean, of course I have, but 90% less than I used to. For one, I'm not in the restaurant business anymore. And two, we had a major pandemic. So I've been barefoot for the last almost 3 years. I wear Earth Runners.
Mm.
Another shout out, Earth Runners. Everybody, you should buy some Earth Runners.
Yeah, are they really good? I've heard
Oh
about
God,
them.
I love them. I just
Yeah,
broke mine today. I'm so sad. I have to order a new.
yeah.
But I truly that some of my back pain is gone, not just because of the ice. I point because my ice bath is right here. Not because of the ice, but also because of being barefoot and getting back to nature. I'm grounding all the time. I wake up at dawn. I sun gaze on my grass, barefoot, do some qigong, a little yoga stretches. That has a lot to do with my back pain as well. So it's not all the ice. It's a combination
Right.
of it's the stack.
Yeah, yeah. That's very true. I definitely can agree with the way that the ice and the cold showers can change your mood. Like just before this podcast, I was feeling a bit stressed for some reason. I was feeling a lot of anxiety, and I don't know why. And I intuitively just went into the cold shower. I went straight in, and within like 3 seconds, I was feeling better, right? Because, like you put it, when you're in the cold, you can't really think about the past or the future. You're focused on the present and now and breathing. And I think that makes such a difference. And the other thing I wanted to say was, especially if you're doing an ice cold plunge, right? Recently, I was at my friend's place. We were recording Lisa, but at her place. And when you do an ice cold plunge, yes, you feel that shock. Yes, you feel that freezing cold. Yes, you're for a couple of seconds all over the place and trying to center yourself. But it's an opportunity for connection too, right? Because when the person is sitting next to you and provides you that guidance and assurance, automatically you feel better. So it's not just the core, maybe it's the connection as well, right? That the other person
Ah,
or persons provide.
oxytocin, absolutely. Yes.
Mm.
Back to what we were talking about earlier, energy and we're all connected. Especially when you're in that state, when somebody's in that water and you're guiding them,
Yeah.
there is a connection for sure. And in my case, I have my clients take the ice bath after an hour of breathing. They're wide open.
Oh, yeah.
They're wide open. I wanted to say one more thing about the ice. Everybody around me, when it's a hot day, they complain, "Oh, I'm so hot. Oh my God, turn on the
Yeah.
air. Let's go inside." And I'm like, that's fine. It's not that bad, you guys.
Mm.
And vice versa. even though we don't really have crazy winters here in Los Angeles, but it gets
Mhm.
cold, and
Yeah.
it's been getting actually colder the last several years. Oh my God, it's so cold. Turn the heater on. I'm like, it's not that bad, you guys. What?
Mhm.
I've regulated my hot and my cold response.
Yeah.
I'm never hot and I'm never cold anymore. Right.
Mhm.
Also, another thing about the ice bath is we modern humans are constantly seeking comfort,
Mhm.
right? Finding it, we're succeeding because everything is geared for
Yeah.
comfort, right? Air
Mhm.
conditioner, heaters, rubber soles, Amazon, cars, everything, you name it. You know, people here in Los Angeles, they won't even walk a block to go get, you know,
Yeah.
whatever they need to buy at the store. They
Right.
drive there.
Yeah.
Become fragile, right? We've developed all of these tools to make the environment adapt to us when we are highly adapted. So when you
Mhm.
get in that water and you realize, okay, I just did the 3 minutes, didn't die, you right?
Oh yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
stretching a rubber band or getting close to the edge. You realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm not as fragile as they tell me. I'm not as, I'm not as I thought I was. Hey, I'm sure I do this. So that's
Yeah.
another benefit. It's another benefit of the ice
Oh, for
that's
sure.
helped me a lot and helped my clients a lot.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And when you are in the cold, now when you show up in life, maybe at your workplace or in your relationships, deep down you're rewired, so you show up differently. You show up as a more resilient and courageous and brave human being, irrespective if you're a man, woman,
So,
or any gender, right? So you're just showing up in a different way. And I wanted to mention, like you pointed out, we're so used to comfort, right? But we also deep down crave discomfort because that's who we are. We're primal beings. And so when we are in the cold, when we are not having food for 16 hours, what happens in the body? Autophagy. Autophagy is like the death of the cell, right? That literally translates in Greek to death. And so I find that from time to time, we need a little bit of an experience of death because the experience of death purifies our life. Whether it's the extreme cold, whether it's scarcity of food, we need to experience that, right? We can't have be
mm,
eating all the time. Or for that
agree.
matter, this is other example also intermittent hypoxia, right? Like
Just breath
scarcity of
hold,
air. Yeah, yeah,
breath hold. Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's really interesting that you mentioned that. How did you discover breath work? I know
Hmm.
that it's hard to find or pinpoint one place, but what would you
No,
say as you
not in
look
this
back?
case.
Yeah.
Not in this case. I have a specific answer. I could answer this one very clearly.
Hmm.
I was browsing around on Instagram,
Hmm.
and I ran across this French guy who lives in Bali, who we know,
Hmm.
and he was. It was one of his reels, or actually, it wasn't a reel. It was one of his IGTVs yet,
Hmm.
and he explaining. I got to him because of ice, but he was explaining about how ice, and then I saw the video of him and Wim Hof in whatever it was, pool, whatever it was, and then I went to his next video. I liked it, and then I liked the next one, and then I liked one, and then I went to another video of him explaining more about breathing, and I liked that one too, and like I watched them. I was fascinated. Something about him,
Hmm.
in, uh, and he reached out to me. I see. I forgot what he said, but he reached out to me, and I can't remember now if I asked him, tell me more about the breath, or if he told me. But long story short, we connected on Instagram, and I'm doing a training. And of course, I know he was doing some marketing, right? He was seeking some students,
Mhm.
Um, Something told me, which is the opposite of what I was used to, and the opposite of what I normally do, which is stop, stop. You're being, like, don't do it. Fear. Usually, fear would, or doubt, or I can't do
Mhm.
that, or whatever the mind does, right?
Mhm.
Something inside me said, "There's a door here across the world is offering you a door." I did. I took his course. In fact, I paid for it before we even did, which I understand. Not everyone does that, but I was, and I was like, I got to do this. Something is telling me something in gut. Let's go there. It wasn't in the back of my head. It was in my gut. Said, take this course. And so I have not looked back since.
Mhm. Maybe going back to your first few breathwork sessions, what opened up for you? What was the experience like?
Wow. So my first breathwork experience was,
Mhm.
and it was pretty profound. Um, I didn't know what to expect. My first guided one, which was not Wim Hof. Let me back up. I do some Wim Hof before him, with the app, the 3 rounds, the 30, the 40 breaths. Those were,
Mhm.
but I did not have, those were more physical. With Alex, it was still physical, but it was more, sometimes I hate to use this word, more spiritual, more metaphysical,
Mhm.
uh, more loving, more feminine,
Mhm.
whereas Wim Hof was very rough and gruff.
Mhm.
And then throughout the course, there was a few guest um, facilitators that came on. One in particular, Rebecca Llewellyn, she just cracked me wide open. Point of tears. I saw myself held, and some stuff that happened to me, um, that I had kind of blocked out or forgotten,
Mhm.
and that was heavy. That was, and it led to more heaviness because of the class I was in. Alex's class, more than just breath. It's all relating, and you know, kind of showing you who you aren't, as opposed to who you are, and it's both showing you who you are deep down. And I had there was some tension with someone in the class based on my experience and what I after my breath work, and that was just but a learning experience that expecting. I didn't know it was going to go down, and now me and that person are good friends. Um, and then a third time was with another guest, Benedict Beaumont. He lives in Canada. He's an Englishman. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. Uh, I have him on this show. He's amazing. Rebecca, by the way. Um, with Benedict, had a memory come back to when I was in my later 20s, rather late teens, early 20s, of something that happened, and that also led to some growth and some um, growth, life changes, some reassessment of who I am or who I thought I was.
Mm. Yeah,
Power of the breath.
yeah. It's so interesting how the human mind and body works. That if you experience some trauma, deep trauma, or like a negative experience, the mind automatically wants to store that memory somewhere in the corner of the confines of your mind, so much
Mm.
so that you don't have that
Or
memory at
body.
all, or body.
Yeah.
And more often than not, because it's storing that in that part of the body, maybe you have some illness or something, there's some stuckness, there's some staleness of energy. And it's fascinating how with breath work all of it comes out, or maybe slowly, step by step, it comes out, right? And then you're like, you remember that. Yeah.
It's fascinating to witness it in myself, and now witness it in my clients. You know,
Hmm.
the what they what report back. You know, a few days later, or their
Hmm.
next session. It's fascinating. It really is.
Yeah.
This machine is fascinating. This weekend.
Yeah. It truly is. um Now, whenever we want to make a difference or an impact in our lives, whether as creators or business owners and entrepreneurs, we have these limiting beliefs. I think you alluded to that a while back. We have these limiting beliefs that tell us what we can or cannot do, right? And form these artificial circumferences between where we are and where we want to go. How do you find breathwork helps you transcend these limiting beliefs? How have you sort of realized it in your life?
God, I wish I had an answer. I mean, I guess the only way to answer that is, first of all, I was and still am,
Hmm.
chock full of limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be here talking to you right now if I
Hmm.
wasn't able to overcome my many
Hmm.
limiting beliefs. Um, I guess to answer your question, it's not really something you can put your finger on, right?
Hmm.
Or grab or hold. I
Yeah.
think it would be more of clearing and getting out of your own, uh, like we've talked about in the ice, you know, not much different from in the breath. You're able to tap in to that wise self, that deep wisdom that's within you, that
Hmm.
gut, that intuition. You're able to turn this. Can I use bad words?
Yeah. Yeah. Go
Can
ahead.
I cuss? You turn this
Yeah.
fucker off, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because this fucker is always on overdrive.
Yeah.
And so when you could turn this thing off and get into this thing, you're able to realize, wait a minute, all of those limiting beliefs are just stories in my head. They're
Hmm.
just this endless feedback loop of trying to please others, trying to fit in, trying to, ego. And I'm not saying ego is a bad thing. We all require a little bit of ego, but when that's all there is, and you have to everything has to go through the filter of the ego, you're fucked.
Hmm.
So again, to answer your question, it's about getting out of your own way, right? Putting the
Hmm.
muck, the the story that is just a story. The
Hmm.
story in our heads are not necessarily reality. It's just a
Hmm.
fucking story. I'm gonna cuss the whole way out of here now.
Yeah. 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 That's so true. Like for me, breath work helps me expand my sense of self. And sometimes when I'm feeling stressed out or maybe anxious, it's just about me, and I feel very confined, and I feel that the world around me is separate and different and otherly. Whereas breathwork when it expands you, and it also helps you realize that you are closer than you think to your dreams and your goals and your visions. Why? Because
Amen.
irrespective of whether you earn it or not, you achieve it or not, your beingness is still here. You're still going to be the same amazing, joyful, abundant you. And so then the goal becomes more of a play, right? Like, what if I could get it? I can get it. Why not? Let me just get it. Because you're not attached to the outcome so much, right? That's what at least I felt, especially yesterday when I was breathing deep, right? And I don't know if my neighbors could hear it because I was.
Oh, I saw you. I saw you.
You did it?
You
Yeah,
were
yeah, yeah. I was letting it out, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
That's
had to mute you actually.
you had to meet me. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't want you to throw out the other person in the room. But yeah, I
Exactly.
saw you. You went
Exactly.
through it. You had a good release
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, feeling like you're not enough, right? I think this goes hand in hand. Limiting beliefs and feeling like we're not good enough, irrespective of who we are, how fluent we are, how successful we are, right? Everyone feels that feeling because there's no end to how, right, successful or beautiful or whatever it is we can be. There's always a next level, but we all feel that feeling of not good enough, especially if you're a creator or an entrepreneur or somebody who is embarking on something new and unfamiliar. How did you go about doing that? And I know it's a process, it's a journey, but maybe, you know, uh, what
I'm
did
still on the
you
journey.
do? Yeah.
I'm still on that road because I have imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I don't sometimes, and
Hmm.
then I'll do something, results and the reactions and the testimonials, and fuck,
Mm.
I'm not.
Hmm.
How do I overcome that? Again, you just put in the work, right? Put in the work. Hold space for yourself. You
Hmm.
know, space for people all the time. I have to find the time to hold space for myself,
Hmm.
and I also have to feel those feelings of incompetence. For many years I pushed them away and then reacted either in
Right.
an angry way or overdoing it, overcompensating and acting too confident and like, oh, I'm good at I'm better than you.
Right.
Now I sit with it. I sit with the limiting beliefs and the I'm not worthy and I'm not good enough. And I do a little bit of this now, which I never used to do.
Oh,
Right?
journaling,
Yeah.
writing. Yeah.
So I communicate with myself. I tell myself it's okay to feel like an imposter.
Mm.
It's okay. It's real. Don't
Yeah.
avoid it. Don't hide it. Right? I'm
Yeah.
telling you and whoever else is watching right now, whoever's going to watch later, I have it too. I'm human,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. That's crazy because I usually have a list of things that, like, ideas on stuff that I could write about because I love expressing myself through writing, especially on Facebook. And that was actually one of the things that I was going to write about. Right? Do you have the ability to sit with whatever you are experiencing? Because, like you put it, a lot of times, me included, we tend to resist that which is in our life. And the more you resist it, the way the universe works, the more you're going to get it. Because the whole idea of resistance is to invite more of it. But if you sit with that discomfort or that feeling like you're not good enough or whatever negative experience you're having, just sit with it and bring it to the surface and maybe do some journaling afterwards. It's fascinating how it comes through you, but then it goes away, it drifts away as well, right?
Isn't that funny
It's
how
amazing.
we've kind of come full circle and come right back to the I,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
right? It's the same thing with the discomfort. Embrace the discomfort. That's how we grow.
Mm.
True growth comes from adversity.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's
Faking
so
it,
true. Yeah.
yeah, it's to the eyes. It all comes back to being in the breath, to being in an uncomfortable situation and
Yeah.
learning from it.
It almost feels as if you have set the intention to be a healer or a breathwork instructor, or somebody that is wanting to hold space for somebody else. It feels like you invite some of the challenges and adversities yourself, right? Because if you haven't gone through those difficulties and darkness yourself, then it's going to be hard to hold space for somebody else and to have empathy for that person who's going through the challenge that you've gone through in your life, isn't it? It's crazy how this works.
I am a strong believer in we have to teach what we need to learn the most.
Oh yeah.
So, hey, I'm selfish. I'm not only doing it for my clients, I'm doing it for me too.
Yeah.
Because every whole space takes somebody through a breath work session and through an ice plunge, I'm getting something out of it too. I'm not going to lie. It's reciprocal.
Yeah, that's very true, and that allows you. It gives you. It feels like it takes a weight off your shoulders, because now you don't have to be that expert better than everybody else. You're a person who is doing a lot of personal experiments and doing research and working on yourself, and you're sharing what you've come across in your own life, and that I feel comes across as very authentic as well. Because then the other person says, "Hey, you tried that. What did you try, and what did you combine, and what did you find out?" As opposed to saying, "Here I am on my high seat, and I'm going to talk. I'm going to teach you this." Right?
It takes you out of self.
Takes you out of self. That's true.
It's a form of, right? When you're of service to someone else in need, again, it's reciprocal. It takes you out of self. It allows you to back up and see the bigger picture, chunk up.
Right.
Because we focus on the details, especially when there are details. It's very important to chunk up. Chunk, bird's eye view. When you're focusing on the whole picture, and you probably will miss how to resolve whatever situation you're in, because you're focusing on one aspect rather than the whole thing.
That's
wrong. Details are important. Details are important when they're important.
Yeah.
But we tend to obsess on the details, obsess on the outcome. We miss the journey, picture. We miss the lesson altogether, and we're just deemed to repeat the damn thing all over again.
Well, I think we take life too seriously sometimes, right? I mean, there's a time to be serious, but here we are with our challenges, with our personal difficulties, with our limitations. And then we take a moment to step back and realize that we are here on this moving planet. We don't even know what happens after a person passes away. Nobody knows that. We don't know where we come from. And we are hurtling through space. 96% of the universe is dark matter and dark energy. You don't even know what that is. Scientists cannot fathom what that means, and what implications it has for humanity. So just to realize that we know so little takes the pressure off us, right? You're like, nobody's figured it out.
Have you ever had a DMT experience doing breath work?
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
I have I still remember, this was a couple of months back. I was deep in some place that I can't even tell where it is, but it was dark. I could see darkness in front of me, and all of a sudden I saw a yellow ball of light. Sometimes it's yellow, sometimes it's purple, and it feels like the ball is communicating with me.
Those are the colors I see.
Right? It feels as if telepathically that light, that ball of light, I don't know if it's a being, but it's communicating with me. And then it becomes bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden it occupies my whole mind, and everything's bright. Like I said, it comes back to the same point. Are we communicating with something or someone, or I don't know, somewhere, somehow, right? And then it also brings to mind that as meditators, as breath workers, we're sort of like astronauts, except we're um, where we're exploring the confines of the mind, right? So, what about you?
Big
Have you
time.
had those experiences, DMT experiences?
I have, yes, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
words can't even describe it. It's pretty wild. But I too see purple and yellow and oranges for some weird reason. Those are
Oranges.
the colors I see.
Yeah,
The yellow kind of goes into orange and then back into
yeah,
yellow.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah,
And
mine is not exactly yellow, but yeah, yeah.
I did
Buffo.
Bufo in October with
Hmm.
yeah.
We can skim a little bit. We can like touch on it. Yeah.
I did a tobacco ceremony with a shaman and Bufo part of Bufo
Right.
various five
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah.
yeah, I've had the same experience with doing the breath, but not as intense. Not as
Oh, yeah.
intense. I felt like I came. First of all, you mentioned rocket, so I was like, it was like it's right.
Yeah.
Um,
I've heard it from Joe Rogan, by
felt,
the way. Please go ahead.
yeah, Joe talks about it. Aubrey
Yeah.
Marcus talks about it a lot.
Yeah.
He had a guy who used to be a Vegas mogul or Chris or something or other. Great art,
Mhm.
great episode. I felt like I saw universal divine source,
Right.
and I saw an altar, but it wasn't a
Mm.
altar.
Yeah.
But to me, it was an altar, and it was surrounded by purples and yellows and oranges.
Hmm.
Um, like I was everywhere yet nowhere
All right.
simultaneously.
Hmm.
I felt like I knew everything
Yeah.
to know, but I knew nothing.
Mm.
It's a really wild experience. Ego death. I don't know
Yeah.
if my ego is completely dead, but there was some kind of death rebirth going on.
Yeah.
I'm sober, so to me that was not uh, uh, a party.
Mhm. That was
Do it to
medicine.
get high.
Right.
Medicine. It was-
Yeah.
yes, even though it's an animal medicine,
Yeah.
frog medicine, toad medicine rather.
Toad medicine. Toad medicine. Yeah. 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 It's crazy how we have these experiences, these realizations that are profound and beyond words. Even when you said that, you felt as if you knew everything, but at the same time, you knew nothing. What came to my mind was the the quote or the notion of the universe having an experience to discover itself, to realize itself. It feels as if the universe goes in cycles. Sometimes we know everything, and sometimes we know nothing. And the universe sometimes goes through this life and death just to know itself once again. I don't know if I'm using the right words for it, but uh,
Wrong. I know where you're
you,
going.
you kind of know, right. So talk about sound baths, because I know you blend sound with breath during some of your workshops. So what made you introduce sound baths with breath work? Because I've been wanting to blend both, right? Collaborate with a sound healer with their beautiful Tibetan singing bowl or some other alchemical bowl, and then mix that with the breath. But how has the experience been for you so far?
Oh, the experience has been spectacular. I mean, I'm working with my soulmate, my life partner, my partner in sound,
Yeah,
my wife.
yeah.
Um, so we were already super close, and now we've bonded even more. I could hear her
Hmm.
bowl right now as we talk.
Mm.
She's doing
I can hear
a
it
breath
too.
session outside the window. You could hear it, yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, you asked me how did I come to that? It came to me in a session actually.
Right.
Yeah. Um, I do, as you know, you did my session yesterday, and online it doesn't translate the gong because of Zoom and these microphones, the condensed mics. That just doesn't come over the mics as well as it should.
Right.
I before my wife came and started with me, I used a playlist, and I curate my playlists almost every session, if
Yeah.
not one little tweak, redo the whole thing altogether. And I like to find, music is still in my heart. Spotify, and I'll start looking for stuff, and I'll add it, I grow it, try to get more intense as we get closer to goals. I like there's a climax and then a come down and then a climax and a come down. One day I was in a breathwork session with my friend Elias, great breathworker, great sound healer. He combines them himself. He doesn't have a partner. And I was in one of his sessions, and it just came to me. Like, I was like, this guy is doing such a great job, and it's such a profound experience hearing him play the bowls while I'm doing the breath the way I'm doing it, or the way he's guiding me. And I realized some of the songs that I pick on my playlist are that sound, the bowls or a gong, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Tibetan stuff,
Right.
like. So I just started realizing, okay, wait a minute, I'm a musician. I was taking my breath work sessions. So I think I invited her a couple of weeks later. We went to my friend Elias's sessions, and she came with me. And I told her, I'm like, listen to what he's doing. Maybe you could, and she's like, I've always wanted to do this. And it kind of organically grew from there. Yeah.
That is so awesome. Yeah. No,
I don't know.
That's a great story.
Any other couples that do it, though.
Yeah. Well, it's an ideal scenario. It's an ideal situation for both couples, both partners to be interested in similar or at least complementary practices and modalities, because then you get to not only partake in the relationship, but then you get to partake in so many other experiences like growing a business and entrepreneurship and leadership and presentation. And that makes for so many opportunities for bonding and intimacy and connection.
Absolutely.
Which I'm sure takes your relationship, right?
We have that kind of relationship already. Sorry to interrupt. We already, like, I'm the type of guy, I'm not the type of guy that, I have so many guy friends. Oh, I can't wait to go to Vegas, get away from the wife. I never understood why they use the for. Right. I'm like, Vegas for something. I want her to come. Like, we do everything together. I'm not trying to get away from the wife. Like, why'd you freaking marry her? From her, I don't know. That just doesn't relate. It doesn't register in my heart. Yeah, my head, my heart. I don't get it. So yeah, the fact that we're doing this together is it just makes sense. And our clients feel the love between the two of us, and they also appreciate the male and the female vibe connection. They feel a lot of people say to us, you guys have very paternal, like we feel safe. It's like our mother and our father are holding space for us, and that could be very cathartic for people who don't have relationships with their parents.
Right.
And conversely, people that do, like, oh, I feel so good being in the man and a woman working together. We get that a lot. A lot of people, the male, female.
Yeah, it brings back me to the initial point I made, right? The importance of, if you're hosting an event or doing a podcast, there has to be like some kind of connection between the guest and the host, or in your case, in the workshop, between the two co-hosts, right? And they need to be able to hold space, and holding space is not a easy, it's not a joke, right? Holding space requires you to follow certain, so many
Very.
household things, and rules, and discipline, in a way, so that the person can then go beyond their comfort zone, which is so difficult to do, and be vulnerable while feeling safe in that
Mm,
cocoon, in that,
mhm.
that shell that you create for them. It's a big job, right? It's a huge responsibility, especially for somebody who's, for the first time doing these experiences, who's not is new to it, like breath work, or maybe ice plunges and sound bath. It can be really, really discomforting for somebody who maybe has social anxiety. It's not easy, right? So
Mhm.
I think that's a it's
Uh,
a it's a huge role.
I've seen it. I've seen the newcomers coming in and
Yeah.
not knowing what to expect, and it
Hmm.
kind of um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the other beauty about what I do, about what we do together, is I
Yeah.
like I'm creating the tension with the breath,
Yeah.
and while my wife is at the same time softening the edges with the
Oh,
sound.
okay.
So I'm like hitting them and she's caressing them all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's very interesting, and I want to give a shout out to all our listeners, as well as people that have worked with me in the past, who fall in that bucket. Maybe people who would not normally do a breathwork journey, or you know uh, go beyond their comfort zone, but for some reason or the other, maybe it's because of the energy or the vibe, they went beyond. So just wanted to give a shout out that you have done something amazing for yourself, that you will notice, right, the benefits of. Okay. Now, Gianni, I know we've spoken a bit about this before, right? Breathwork does have its physiological benefits that can be measured, that can be noticed, that can be improved, that can be tweaked, right? Biohacking. You have all these different devices. But then breathwork also has these more immeasurable benefits, these subjective benefits, emotional benefits, and spiritual benefits. And I think I'm a bigger fan of the latter half, right? Um, what does breathwork do for you spiritually? Does it do anything at all? Because I know you maybe you don't like the word spiritual a lot, or whatever it is. Let me know if it does something for you spiritually.
I love the word spiritual. Don't get me
You do?
wrong.
Okay. Okay.
Like it's overused,
That's
and
true.
I feel
That's
like
true.
sometimes it turns people off. But
Mm.
that's the people pleasing part of me, where I don't want to turn people
Okay.
off.
Okay.
But I love the word spiritual, and I love
Okay.
spirituality.
Mhm.
What does it do for me spiritually? Is the, you said, is that was that the question, rather?
Yeah. What does it do? I know you spoke about your DMT experience, which is very, very spiritual. But as you look back, what does breathwork do for you spiritually? If you had to package it all up and summarize
Hmm.
it.
Hmm. It me with a deeper part of me,
Hmm.
my intuition. I like to call my breath. It's not just mine. Everyone's breath is my mentor.
Right.
When I'm struggling with making a decision, or coming up with an idea, creativity, it sparks creativity, which I believe is a spiritual thing,
Mm.
right? Music is spiritual, punk rock or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it connects me with a deeper part of me. It connects me with that intuition. Um, over the years, not just me, but many out there have squashed and stopped listening to it, not trusting it almost,
Yeah.
or either that or just being in the head so much. It's like, this is not spiritual. This is.
Mhm.
So it gets me in here. And so that's my spiritual connection. And it's a bonding with my clients. As I'm holding space, I'm bonding with everyone.
Mhm.
And as a breather, when I go to other people's classes, when I'm not holding space, I'm bonding with the teacher. I'm bonding with everybody that's there doing it with me. That's a uh, experience
Yeah.
connection.
Mm.
I suppose there's more. If you guys want radio silence and want me to sit there and think, I could come up with more, but I think I've hit it.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. Yeah. That's very, very true. Um, through all these different practices like breathwork and sound and plant medicine and ice, we can't help but think about things like like um, where were we before this? Like what happens before birth? What happens after death? And the most profound question probably is, who are we? Right? Like, what is consciousness? So what are your thoughts around consciousness? Like, what is consciousness? I love to ask this question, and of course, we can talk about consciousness for hours and hours. But if you had to share a reflection that you had off late, maybe what is consciousness to you?
That's a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's electricity.
Yeah.
Um, the spiritual. God, I don't. That's a good question. My God,
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to come back on the show and answer that one. What is
Yeah.
consciousness?
Yeah.
It is. It's the embodiment of every experience we've
Mhm.
ever had, bottled up in. I don't want to say bottled up.
Mhm.
Culminated to the very moment, which is fleeting right now, and now it's gone, and now there's the next one.
Yeah.
Consciousness is everything and everything right now
Mhm.
together.
Mhm. Right. So
I don't know
everything
how
in
I
the
came up with
past.
that answer.
No, I think it's a great answer, and it's a great reflection point for me also. Think about what you just shared. And you spoke about the past. You spoke about the now. What, according to you, happens when we decide to pass away from this physical, existence?
Well, like, what are my beliefs?
What are
Is
your
there life after
beliefs?
death?
Yeah, because with these questions, there are no right or wrong answers because nobody can tell somebody that they're
Yeah,
wrong. Right?
I believe in reincarnation. I believe
Yeah.
we keep coming back until we get it right.
Hmm.
Yeah, I do believe in an
Yeah.
um, not in a per kind of way,
Hmm.
but in an energetic kind of way. Um,
Right.
I do believe we come back, whether it be in human form, animal form, or even plant form.
Hmm.
Um,
Do you believe
this
that
is
we might
life.
incarnate in a different planet, or do you feel that for the most part, it's human,
Oh,
it's Earth? Sorry for my
oh
crazy questions towards the end of the
no!
podcast. I go all over the place, right, in terms of the
Look,
abstract.
what we're learning
Yeah.
these days about other planets and other worlds, and I guess
Yeah.
extraterrestrial is no longer politically correct because I think it offends them.
Right.
Then, yeah, uh, I think the correct world has gone far. But
Hmm.
anyway, uh, yeah,
Hmm.
why not?
Yeah.
Maybe we come back.
Right.
I'd like to think so. Why not?
Yeah. 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 When I was a kid, I used to often look at the sky, and I used to look at
You
the
don't anymore?
No. The
Back,
reason for that
go
is because
back.
the reason is probably because I've become too much of an adult, and B, it's Vancouver over here. It's not called Vancouver. It's called Vancouver for a reason because it's always cloudy and you don't have like a beautiful, right, clear sky. But in the summers you do actually.
In
I
the
gotta say
summers,
that
you
in
do have a
summer,
little.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But
do
I
it.
used to look at the
Go look at the
stars
sky.
and watch the Sirius constellation. You know the three stars, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
used to look at the sky and wonder, right? Sometimes you look at the sky and you have this faint familiarity, like that maybe that's where you're from, or maybe that's where you're going to go. And it didn't make sense. But the
Mhm.
more conversations I have with people like yourself, it instills in me the idea that you know what, maybe I'm from there.
I get it. What you're saying makes
Hmm.
I totally relate. But
Hmm.
I get that
Right?
feeling when I look at the ocean.
You do? Oh,
Yeah, yeah. When I'm on the
ocean.
ocean or in the ocean,
Yeah.
I feel like I've come home. There's something about the ocean for me, and it's not in lakes. It's not in
No.
rivers. As
Okay.
much as I love being in rivers, so much. Um, say that I like being in lakes. If I had the choice, the ocean, the sea, ocean, the Mediterranean. I love. I grew up in the Mediterranean every summer.
Oh.
I feel so just at,
Yeah.
on a boat
Hmm.
in the water. The water. We are
Yeah.
water. We are made up. You know
We
that,
are.
right?
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. And the ocean, the salt has a purging effect on us. The ancient
Big time.
Greeks used to have these, almost month long or maybe more rituals, and they were like totally into rituals, right? They used to have consume these things, and I'm sure breathwork and dream work, and they used to specifically go into the ocean because they felt that it has a purgative effect. It helps you cleanse yourself, maybe take away all that negative, still stuck energy. But I'm setting the intention that maybe in the future we get to partake in a cold dip together, or maybe a dip together if you're dipping in California. Maybe not that cold. Is it cold? Maybe it is cold.
It's the water. The water's cold. So
The water is cold anyway. Cool, cool,
I
cool.
mean, when I put the ice in it, it's cold.
It is.
Visit me,
So
brother.
I set the intention that we will sometime in the near future, have a nice plunge together and maybe have breakfast, lunch, or whatever that might be, dine together, right? What lies ahead
And
for you, Gianni?
and we have a bunch of witnesses too. So
We got witnesses right here that are going to hold us accountable. People who
of
listen to
course,
this.
you all heard it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
What for me? You ask?
yeah.
Is that what you said? Oh,
What lies ahead for
mm,
you in
lies ahead.
2022?
Uh, I got a bunch of cooking. I got a bunch of stuff cooking. Pardon my French.
Hmm.
Retreats,
Hmm.
retreats. Um, Costa Rica, not just as retreats, possibly as a place to be living. Setting that in outwards, so you all. Um, a meeting with Alex. I want to meet my teacher. I want to hug him. Or on a more serious note, I'm seeing some like you met, but I'm actually working on doing some corporate sessions, going
Hmm.
into getting the entire staff to do breath work because it helps them boosts morale, um, increases production, all that stuff. I'm seeing more collaborations with other modalities combining. I'm to other things, other biohacking things, but not just for myself, bringing it out to others. Um, Clay is something that
Hmm.
I'm really interested in. Back to the earth,
Mhm.
More podcasts, more guests, be more guesting or more whatever I'm doing right now. Guesting, yeah. More
Yeah, I guess
interviews, I guess
guesting
you could
is,
say,
yeah, yeah.
and vice versa. I wouldn't mind having a show of my own. It's a huge uh, limiting belief. Like I don't think, but I can.
Mhm.
I can do it. I just got to get on way. I could do it.
Yeah, you sure
Um,
can.
you know, I have a lot of plans. I have a lot of big plans.
Amazing, amazing. So great to hear that. And how can somebody find you online?
Well, of course, Instagram, where I'm most active, Respiro Space, RESPIRSPACE,
Mhm.
breath in Italian, website, but websites are so 1995. Same, respirospace.com. I also have a Facebook page, Respiro Space. Not so active on that. Um, I'd like to a um, EA. If you're out there, hit me up. For those of you who don't know what a VA is,
Mhm.
I my daughters help me with that, but I'm not very active there. So I would say Instagram probably the best. And should I give my phone number, or you can get off the website and off the Instagram? So email,
Cool.
same Gianni at Respirospace, info at Respirospace. Um, there's a couple more. I can't remember now. Oh, you're frozen. Unless you're just a really good mime. Aditya.
Can you see me?
Okay, there you are. I tapped you. I tapped you back
Okay.
awake.
Are we back? Okay.
We're back.
I think it's because our, stream is so long that Facebook is having a hard time breathing. But so we're back. So we'll
Good
have these
trolls.
links up in the show notes for sure. Action Tribe, if you liked this session, if you enjoyed this session, then make sure that you write us an iTunes rating and review, and maybe on Spotify or wherever platform you listen to this podcast on. Make sure that you write us a review. Make sure you share this. Tell a friend, tell a family member, because that one message will help spread the word and will help somebody change their life. If you would like to go on your own breathing journey, then you are welcome to join me on Zoom from anywhere in the world, as long as you have the internet and a pair of headphones. Make sure you go to my7chakras.com/drop in, my7chakras.com/drop in. I love when I get to see and connect with listeners who have been listening to the show for so many years. But it's amazing when that happens. We'll have the link in the show notes. We would use movement and mantra and music and breath work to relax the body and to calm your mind. Make sure you join me. Gianni, thank you so much for connecting with me, coming on our show, talking to us about so many different topics in your stories and expressions of you, even, and taking us one step closer to a human revolution.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you. We're just going to hit stop